I'm standing in an area of my shop that could have been an absolute disaster. Imagine walking in and seeing this. This machine caught on fire, and it is boiling hot. Nobody was hurt, just things were lost, and it was quite frankly the scariest moment I've had in this shop. So a little overview, I run small manufacturing machines here in my backyard in a 20 by 30 metal building to support us. I run a business called aglimpseinside.org. It's also a YouTube channel, but it's more kind of a business now as the YouTube revenue has dropped off over the years. Long and the short of it is, I have used these lasers for about 3 years now, and I've learned a lot. Now that Laguna EX, nothing wrong with it. That was not the manufacturer's fault. I'm just gonna say that right now. It was my fault because of what I was doing, but it was also a suggestion to use a certain type of acrylic. Well, turns out that that person at that location, and I'll name them later probably, but they gave me misguided information on what was safe to use, and as it turns out, it wasn't. Now, I'm not pressing charges and all that good stuff. I'm gonna leave it as a mistake, chalk it up to an accident. Nobody was hurt, and that's what I'm thankful for. Right here is where that Laguna EX sat, and it became, well, quickly my acrylic cutting laser. Now, I have a pretty good gig here cutting wood products for my business. I don't make much acrylic stuff. You think, why do I have an exclusively acrylic cutting laser? Well, I do wholesale work with acrylic. Just to name a few, I'll show you a couple products you might recognize that, I guess the cat would be out of the bag here, but that I actually make. So the acrylic for this and this. If you recognize both of those, congrats. If you don't, I'll still leave them nameless, but I'll put links to those guys I make those for down below. All right, guys, so let me tell you this story. It's a crazy one. And it starts with me walking in, not knowing what is going on. And something about the film on this one, my whole shop almost caught on fire. I've got this ready. I'm gonna investigate. It's hot as shit in here. I think there's a fire brewing inside my machine. There is. So I was pretty nonchalant there in the beginning of that video. I shot it because I just walked into the shop and saw a black cloud. I thought maybe just some material was burning. And so before I investigated it further, I wanted to get on camera what was going on. I don't know why. That's just kind of what I thought. Upon seeing the flames inside, I had the fire extinguisher ready. I was like, okay, it's time to get into action. So that's what happened, and I was able to pry open the laser cover just by like an inch or two and get that fire extinguisher in there. And yeah, it did finally go out. So all that being said, I'm gonna show you some photos here of some of the damage after all the flames went out and the machine kind of, was able to, not too hot to touch. So yeah, check this out. And so it begins, the process of cleaning it up. You gotta lift this door to show you. Yeah, we've got some melted plastic, and actually more than that is just melted. The instrument cluster here, the meter that tells you how much voltage or amperage you're using, is completely melted. Here's a better shot at it right here. Pretty crazy. Even all the wiring, the servo motors, their housings, you're gonna see here on the left-hand side just how bad it is. Again, the white is, a lot of it's from the fire extinguisher, but you could just see the extensive damage of this machine. I even had a TV remote sitting at the top, and this is what's left of it. A little box here to store a few things, that's charred as well. As we work our way around, what in the world is this? Yeah, I had a bottle of Type Bond just sitting there, and that, well, you can see that didn't make it. Making our way around. I probably stored too much stuff on the surface of the laser around the outskirts of it, but you live and learn. Here are some acrylic pieces at the bottom. They're completely toast. And then I actually picked up this little package of MDF to do a project with my daughter, and that didn't make it either. Man. And there's some of the aluminum knives, as you see me crumbling up some Baltic birch there. That was in the laser for a guide point, but those aluminum knives there are melted, completely severed. I mean, that's hot, guys. Seriously. And here is the guilty sheet of acrylic that actually had some masking on it, which I believe was the problem. I'll get into that just in a little bit. But you could see just how bad this is. Very thankful nothing bad happened except for the machine being busted. Could have been a lot worse. So now it's the next day, and my dad actually came by to help me with this process. And quite frankly, he was there really for moral support. It was great to have him there and chat with him as we're getting all this stuff ready and we're getting ready to get this laser out of the shop, because it's a pretty bad smell in there, and it's just, yeah, something I just need to get rid of. All right, so as we make our way around what we have to do, I'm gonna have to move this table saw a little bit. And honestly, one of the biggest regrets I had about this table saw is actually putting the outfeed table directly attached to it. So I'm thinking of redoing this project as well, because it's kind of a pain to move. I gotta get this scissor lift out and some wheels, and yeah. After we take down the banner and remove some of the insulative panels, this is actually a video, by the way. I insulated those panels. It was an idea I got from my buddy Zach Fernandez, who's a firefighter out in Tallahassee. Pretty cool video. I actually find it, I'll link it down below if you want to see those insulated panels for a shop door. Moving forward, yeah, I forgot to film it. As you gotta hit start, but I did this. You get it? Yeah, sometimes we forget to hit record, and yeah, there you go. So moving this laser out finally, we're gonna walk it out pretty simply. Of course, it's on wheels. It's a big machine, but it's pretty nimble. We're gonna leave this outside for a little bit, and my goodness, you can see, whew, I'm glad to get that out of there. Here's actually the tube as well. Some more footage of the burns. There's that servo motor housing I was talking about. Holy moly. Whew, or stepper motor, whatever you wanna call it. I know they're different, but hey. And there's the tube, just covered in stuff, but it didn't break. All right, so let's talk about this acrylic. I typically use a clear stock of acrylic, and it comes with, as you can see here, it comes with a paper protective layer, okay? Now this paper cuts beautifully on the laser. Of course, there's nothing to it. And well, I had encountered an issue where I had run out of this stuff. My supplier in Jacksonville had run out. That's where I am, in Jacksonville, Florida. By the way, I get most or all of it now from Farco, which is a company here locally, which I adore. They're great, but they just were out of specific material that I needed. It was some of this white kind of acrylic I was making these signs for. Now, they were out. I was suggesting, I looked around, go to Piedmont, which is down in Daytona, which is quite frankly about an hour and 10 minutes from me. So I called them, told them what I needed. They got it. And I said, yeah, have it cut up, fit on the lasers, we're good to go. I went down, picked it up, and the stuff I bought was not the right color. It was paper backed, but it wasn't the right color. And so I was like, dude, come on, man. I told you what I needed. You gave me the wrong thing. Oh, well, I'll just take the loss, right? I said, I need this kind of, whatever the code word is, a code number. I gave them that, and they said, oh, by the way, this stuff has some PVC or some plastic backing. You see here, this is plastic. And 90%, I was told by the general manager, 90% of their laser cutting customers use this plastic film, this stuff right here. I said, okay, I trusted them. I put a sheet on, I cut this little square as a test. It seemed to work. I then started cutting out those signs right there. And I came back 5 minutes later. I literally came inside, told my wife I was back, got something to drink, came back to the shop, and this is what you saw. And something about the film on this one, my whole shop almost caught on fire. So, I had to do a little research. Instead of taking people's word, I went to the internet. I know it sounds crazy, but I typed in ChatGPT, look, what's the danger of using plastic films acrylic? And this is what popped up. Take a listen. You can pause, or you can take a look. You can pause your screen if you want to read this whole thing. But basically, paper backing is where it's at, and plastic backing is very dangerous. Not only is it caustic, but it could very much pose a fire hazard. Well, thank goodness I had a couple of fire extinguishers there, because I don't know. I ended up talking to Laguna, and they said it probably would have been contained in there, but you just never know. It was at least over around 1,500 degrees inside that laser while the fire was brewing, because it was actually melting the aluminum in there. So that's pretty significant, and it didn't show any signs of stopping. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm still debating on what to do to replace it. Talking to a few companies at the moment, nothing set in stone yet, but we'll get something in there pretty soon. But thank goodness everybody was okay. I mean, nobody was hurt at all. And that's all. So I'm using this opportunity to kind of clean things up and get kind of reorganized in the shop. In fact, I've been meaning to make a few more things on the CNC just for me, and I've done that, and I'll show you over here. There's a new modular storage unit that I'm kind of working on that's going to go inside some of these resin sheds that you buy at Costco or whatever else. And this is going to be pretty nice to keep extra parts and various things, and this project is really neat to do. I actually made one of these little shelving units out of ultralight plywood, which is stuff with foam in the middle from Garnica, which is really cool. And I've got a bunch of that as well. I'm going to do some prototyping with it and see what I can come up with. Pretty fun stuff. So it's been a good opportunity to really get back to basics, get more organized, find some other storage solutions that maybe will turn into products or maybe turn into files for you guys as well. So check the link down below. And honestly, this business is what I've got going on. And if you don't know anything about it, I would definitely love if you check out a link down in the description or in the pinned comment, because bouncing back from something like this is much appreciated with your help. And I'm not asking for anything, no GoFundMe, no nothing, which is silly. I'm just asking to check out what we do, and hopefully you'll benefit from the products that we make. It will save you time, and it will keep your place a little bit more aesthetically pleasing in the organizational realm. So guys, thanks a lot. Check the links below. I really appreciate your support. And yeah, I hope you learned something. Keep those fire extinguishers handy no matter what you're doing in your shop. And I'll see you guys on that next one. Bye.